My name is Jason Glardy. I'm the host of Get Good. In this series, I'm joined by the very talented Lindsay. We're going to nerd out over handstands and provide you with a step-by-step game plan to go from beginner to balanced. We cover the why you're doing it, what to do, and how much to do of it. We're going to show you different entries based on the principle of joint stacking and show you how different body types may be suited to different entries. We're going to figure out how to go into a handstand correctly.
So we want to find the style of entry that helps us maintain our foundation as much as possible. You want your hips to travel the least amount of distance.
Sure,
to get over their balance point.
Yeah. And that probably prevents you over-rotating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the more you have to travel, the less consistent it's generally going to be.
Got it.
The method that a lot of people go for right off the bat is what I like to call the kick and pray method.
It's great.
Where there's not much rhyme or reason to it. You just kind of like go for it and hope that you somehow magically end up with your joints stacked on top of each other.
1 out of 10 times it works.
You're able to catch it and then hold it. That's not usually the best way. What you want with hand balancing when you're learning is a way that gives you consistency. The most common entries are like the scissor entry, which is going up one leg at a time. There's the tuck entry, which is going 2 feet, tuck to straight, and then there's the straddle entry, which is jumping legs split wide. For all of the entries, I think it's best to start with the hands on the ground, just so you can focus on your hand placement and build up as much of the handstand on the ground before your feet actually leave the ground. So you want to make sure that your hands are in the right spot, you're engaging your fingers, your index fingers pointing forward and the rest of the hands are spread out from there. You want to make sure that you're pressing up through the shoulders, so you're elevating your scapula, and that you're starting with your hips already as far over your balance point as possible. So for the scissor entry, you kick up with one leg, the second leg is going to follow, but the top leg is going to lead, and you're just going to aim to get your hips over your shoulders and your shoulders over your wrists. So from here, kick up to here, find the balance there, and then you can bring both feet straight. And you come down one leg at a time. I'll show what happens if you try to go too fast. So if you try to go too fast, what ends up happening is you kick, you miss the point, and then you have to come out. It's much harder to catch that balance point. If you go slower, you find it easier. And it's just a more consistent, more reliable way of getting up. There's less praying, less kicking and praying involved, more control. This one, you're jumping from 2 feet. The hand placement is the same. Again, you start with the shoulders elevated. And when you jump, you open the legs into a straddle, stack the hips over the shoulders, hold it in the straddle until you find balance and then come all the way up. So you find it here, and then bring it to straight. And then coming down, you come back through the straddle and lower down. Oh no!
Keep it.
So if you see here, I had to shift forward as my legs come down.
So you said this would be better for someone that has shorter legs or more external rotation in their legs?
Both.
Okay.
So a good way to determine if this is going to be an easy entry method for you is a straddle pancake on the ground.
Okay, yep, sure.
So if you have a better straddle pancake, which clearly I don't, I can if I really work at it, but If this is a really easy position for you, then the straddle entry will probably be a really easy way of getting into it. I would say something I see a lot is people try to straddle all the way up right away instead of jumping to a straddle, finding their balance in that straddle. Because if you think about it, having your legs apart, whether it's in a split or a straddle, is going to help with balance.
Got it.
When you try to jump all the way up to straight right away, it just becomes a lot. There's a lot of motion, and it becomes a lot harder to keep the control, especially if you're not already super comfortable on your hands.
Sure.
Also, having your legs spread in straddle keeps your center of gravity lower.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
All the way up. For people who have shorter legs and shorter femurs, this one might be a really easy way of getting into handstand. So I'll show it from the side, because then you can see exactly how my body proportions affect the balance. So in order for me to tuck, I have to come forward quite a bit. And that's just given my my anatomy.
So coming forward meant your shoulder angle closed? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, so I have to planche my shoulders, and I have to send weight over my hands this way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because
you have long legs,
my legs
more weight.
are sending more weight this way, and I want to keep my center of gravity over my hands. I would say that it should be a priority that whatever style of entry you're using, it should be a style where you can comfortably enter into a handstand keeping your arms straight.
Okay.
If you have to bend your arms, it's probably not the ideal
Got it, that makes sense.
for you.
Okay, cool.
So again, that's why I think everybody should try every method to see which one they can maintain. The goal is to maintain, like I said, build the handstand as much as you can before you actually leave the ground, and whatever entry you're able to maintain that stack that you initially build before your feet leave the ground is the best method of entry for you. So for me, from here, I can build this stack and I can maintain it relatively well.
Yeah.
With the scissor entry. With the straddle and the tuck entry, this foundation that I build is gonna break down a little bit.
Yeah, okay, sure.
When my feet leave the ground. So that's how I know that it's not the best thing for my body.
When you start off, should you practice all entries? Or do you think you should just be like, this is the one that works, and just focus on that? I think you should try them all to see which one feels the most comfortable for you, because I've had some people who have been trying to use the scissor, the kick-up entry for ages, and then they tried the straddle entry and they're like, oh, that works so much better. Okay. And a lot of it has to do with like your hip structure. The idea of joint stacking, the more variety you have, you'll probably get the idea of it better because it's common to each one.
Right. Right. So that's the difference between the kick-up entry, is that you do have feet going up.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Whereas with the straddle and the tuck entry, you lead with the hips, which really helps you learn that concept of like stacking the hips instead of reaching the feet over. A lot of people, when they kick up, they go into that banana shape because instead of trying to stack their hips over,
heels take too much.
They try to kick their feet up, which is why when you kick up, it is a good idea to lead with the top leg and leave the bottom leg low instead of trying to kick 2 feet up at the same time.
That makes sense. We should probably talk about how to bail.
So learning how to fall properly will eliminate the risk of